What's happening, everybody? It's me, the resident supervillain, Mr. J. Washington. I'm here with my review for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, if you have not seen this yet, you probably haven't had a chance to go to a fan screening or whatnot. Come on back, because there will be spoilers. And I say that because, yes, the premiere happened already, and then press screenings happen. It's how you get in this review as well as many others. But they've also done a few fan events, so I don't know if everyone has had the pleasure or privilege of seeing it yet. I do know the world at large will see it on the 3rd of September, Labor Day weekend. So I'm letting you know now, I'm going to go full in depth with this review. So it is what it is. Y'all know how I do. I don't do non-spoiler reviews and then spoiler reviews because I just don't have the time and the patience. And I just want to talk about this shit because I've been holding on to it for so long. There's been some pushback for this film. Out the gate, let's talk about it. The pushback being Awkwafina. Yes, Awkwafina's black scent is a problem. Now, there are going to be people who are watching this out the gate who are probably going to hit the thumbs down. Thank you for your engagement. Regardless, you've been here long enough. That's what matters. And then there are going to be people who are going to be like, oh, but that's how she talks normally. That's not how she talks. So, to the black community, which she has also said disparaging things about, it rubs the wrong way. I say that because for me, I had to quell my disdain for her for using a black scent and black culture to get on, say disparaging shit about black people, and then think it's cool, like it's nothing. It's been an issue. Yes, it's an issue when non-black people in general do it. There are different cultures, different people do different things, right? And there's certain vernacular and there's certain way people talk and this, that, and the third. Yes, there is. I know people are like, well, what if that's just how a person grew up? That's one thing, right? And I get it. She's from Queens. So I could understand that, right? If that was how she talked all the time. And it's not. The facade, the personality, the Awkwafina for that personality is what you're hearing about from the backlash now or from some of the black community on social media. So I want to get that out the way. And like I said, notwithstanding, I quelled that in myself to watch this. And I can say, as I said on Twitter, this is arguably one of my top 5 favorite MCU movies ever. And arguably top 5 comic book movies. This is a very solid origin story. A very great tale. The fight choreography is through the roof. The visual effects work. I've been speaking about this a lot. If you don't follow Blurs in the Hood, what are you doing with your life? Follow Blurs every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 on the East Coast. I'll tell you about that later. There's a big thing where Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios president, had to address the potentiality of backlash in the Chinese market for them being worried about a lot of Chinese stereotypes and culture, cultural degradation, excuse me. And what I mean by that, for those who are familiar with the Shang-Chi comics, in the comics, his daddy is named Fu Manchu. When you see the old martial arts videos and mockeries with the guy with the mustache that goes down here, Fu Manchu. Fing Fang Foom, the dragon that we all wanted to see. If you don't know Fing Fang Foom, it's a giant dragon, an alien dragon from Kantakaratian, something like that. It's a weird name. Please forgive me, y'all. Y'all already know. Y'all check it out. Who talks and fights. Now, the Fing Fang Foom part is considered, again, another stereotypical thing that Marvel Studios went against. Fine. That's all I wanted. I was like, I hear dragon. I think we're getting Fing Fang Foom, but we found out we're getting the Great Protector, a la the toys that have been released. Toys always leak something. But the way this kicks off, and you see the legend of the Ten Rings, how they, where they seemingly have started, and you see Wen Wu instead of being called the Mandarin, and you see him throughout history conquering kingdoms, and you see how long he's lived, and you're hearing a story being told, and it's narrated by a woman who is Michelle Yeoh, and she's narrated a story of how he's come through history because of the Ten Rings and the legend that was behind them, and how he wanted to get to this place where it was full of magical creatures and wonder called Tao Lo. Please forgive me if I'm saying it incorrectly. And in the process, he meets a woman who beats his ass. You know, he built. This is while he, after time of him building up the legacy of the Ten Rings, him going from just like normal warlord, if you will, to business entrepreneurial warlord that still wears the Ten Rings, and Michelle Yeoh's character, the younger version, Fala Chin, beats his ass, but it beats his ass with beauty and grace. And again, this goes into the fight choreography that we see. It is so well done, and we see the story how Shang-Chi is born and blah blah blah, and then we get to him being a kid and him having the pendant from his mom, that a jade pendant in an oval that tells him this will always guide him home. Fast forward, we see Sean working as a valet along with Katie, played by Awkwafina, and you know, we see all that, right? All these things happen till eventually they go to work, and then that's when we get ready to go to work. I think we're going to work, and the scene with the bus fight that you saw in the trailer. Now, this bus fight is way more extensive, and it's, again, what we saw in the trailer is just a fraction of the magnitude and beauty of what's done. Its choreography is phenomenal, but one of the biggest parts of this fight, that is one of the best things, the fight itself is dope, but I love the fact they had some real life shit that'll happen. There's a black dude, I think he was in another Marvel flick, and I can't remember which one it was. Please forgive me. He got his camera in the phone. He's like, yo, this your boy, blah, 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 blah. I'm live, and check this out on the bus. And he is live streaming Shang-Chi's fight on the bus. It's the realest shit. And then they go past him at a point. He's like, yeah, we still here, blah, blah, blah. It's the realest shit because it's something you would see in real life. And I just felt, I was like, yo, that don't get enough credit because that's some real shit that would happen regardless of the race. There'd be somebody pick up their cell phone. The tournament in itself, you know, we all thought, we were under the impression after seeing the trailer, kind of hearing what things were, that we were under the impression that the movie would be centered around a tournament to win the 10 rings. In all actuality, that is not the case. The tournament that you see is actually an underground fight ring that is being read by Jia Ling, that is his sister, Shang-Chi's sister, and I cannot pronounce her name correctly, and I thought I had it in front of me, and I don't want to, you know, I know people say, yo, do us the favor of learning names and pronunciations, and I don't have the phonetically broken down way to speak it in front of me, so I don't want to be rude, because, like, I know I'd be get pissed off, somebody be like, why you call everybody Shanique when Tyrone? Like, I'd be that dude. I get it. I fucking get it. So I apologize to any member of the Asian American community who know my heart. Like, yo, he gonna try. But it's run by his sister. And the fight we see is the fight of Abomination versus Wong. And it's a damn good fight. You see basically how that fight turns out. I won't spoil that part. But it's something that happens later after the fight. You see Wong talking to Abomination, or Blonsky, Emil Blonsky, whichever one you want to call him. And he opens a portal and Blonsky goes through. So what I'm assuming, now I probably got to rewatch it again to make sure my assumption may be correct, the hypothesis, however you want to put it, is that Wong transports him from the raft to the fight, then after the fights, takes him back. Because at some point you hear, because the point afterwards you hear Wong tell him, like, we're going to work on this, you're going to do this like we worked on. So he's teaching him how to fight. And again, building up more to what we're going to see with Abomination in the She-Hulk series going forward, because we know he's a part of that. And Wong is just, we know he out here in these streets. But you find out, so again, I forgot to mention, the pendant gets stolen off the bus during the fight with Razor Fist and whatnot, who is phenomenal, by the way. And members of the 10 Rings, he knows. So Shang-Chi goes to, that's where he ends up at the tournament, because he's warning his sister, Dad's coming. Dad shows up, basically. Finds out that their father wants the pendants that the mother gave the two children. It opens up a map to Ta Lo, right? All these beautiful things. It's basically the mother died. He wants to use Ta Lo supposedly to bring her back. The father, and by he meaning Wenwu, he's saying that he can hear their mother. She's telling him, look, if Ta Lo, they got me, I'm behind here, you can get me free, blah, blah, blah. And they both look at him like, is you batshit crazy? Before I go further, now we all were like, okay, this movie being the 10 Rings was going to give us the true origin and nature of the Mandarin. And I said earlier, he's not called the Mandarin, he's Wenwu. Here's why this is dope. Again, Shang-Chi is a great standalone film that has small little parts, little connectors in the giant MCU universe at large. But there's a point at the table. There's Wenwu, Zerling, and Shang-Chi. And Wenwu's telling Shang-Chi, he's like, do you know they've tried to copy my organization around the world, even in America? They tried to copy my organization and give themselves a figurehead to run it that they needed to be a symbol of terror. And do you know what they called him? The Mandarin. They named him after an orange. So they joke, they let you know the Mandarin is, again, another stereotype per se. We eliminated it. We quelled it. We squashed it. This is why it was called that. Boom. It's a great acknowledgement. It lets you know, this should happen in Iron Man 3 because we talked about the 10 rings. It happened in Iron Man 3. We saw the 10 rings in Iron Man 1. So we we're going to, like I said, the larger MCU. Also, the Ben Kingsley is back as Trevor Slattery, who is hilarious throughout this. What we got at the end of Iron Man 3, when he was, after he was caught coked out with the girls, and then in the Hail to the King, where he got released and freed from prison, you thought, oh man, the 10 rings broke out the real Mandarin. What you find out is the 10 rings, ran by Wenwu, broke him out because they were going to kill him, but they made him basically the court jester. And it is phenomenal. And they have him talking to a magical bear pig puppy named George with wings. It's so crazy. You have all this happening. You have the fight scenes that continually happen. They're continually dope. There's a fight scene that's supposed to be set outside of, oh my God, I can't remember, the Macau. And it's so amazing. Again, you can't describe in detail the magnitude of these fight scenes, the choreography, the way they're shot, the way they're executed. This is something that no matter what review you read or watch or hear, you're gonna have to see for yourself. We get to Dao, we see an older version of Michelle Yeoh, who plays Shang-Chi and Ziling's aunt. She plays Aunt Nan, if I remember I got it correctly. I didn't write down notes while I was watching this movie when I was in the screening because I wanted to watch the movie and base everything and enjoy it. And whatever I could imbibe and retain, I did. And I retained a lot. It's just trying to figure out what parts I want to put out instead of telling y'all the whole movie bit by bit. Long story short, like I said, Wenwu was thinking he was hearing their mother behind a wall. The wall is being covered with dragon scale that the Great Protector gave them that is holding a great beast behind it. Now, this beast could have been Fin Fang Foom, but they made it to another or otherworldly type animal and creature, shall I say, excuse me. And they had this creature behind that, and this creature is trying to get free and knows that the power of the 10 rings will break it free. And it's kind of similar to the Iron Man cartoons and comics where Bing Fang Foom's tomb can be opened by the Mandarin's 10 rings and the actual rings. But they show that. Now, another thing, the CGI and visual effects of the 10 rings are phenomenal how they work. And I said this before, I understand after hearing why they did, like, I forgot what the technical term for them are called, but like the bracelets, because they wanted to delineate from the gauntlet. Because if you got two hands, it's like having another infinity gauntlet, so they wanted something different. And the way you can throw them, manipulate them, use them to levitate, bounce off, all this stuff, the visual effects with them are phenomenal. And so when Wu's trying to open this gate, this door to this otherworldly creature, not knowing that that's what's behind it, he's still being tricked, thinking that his wife who died, who was murdered actually, is behind this, and that her people are not letting him there. And so we have this big moment where it's finally broke open. He's literally using the rings. You see him glow up on one hand, boom, other one. Then he does something where makes all 10 go on one wrist and gives a giant punch and finally opens. This is after knocking Shang-Chi in the ocean and blasting the sun with it, right? Then the Great Protector brings him up. Beautiful looking dragon, red, white. I felt like it was something like the never-ending story in Falcor. I was like, I just wanted to see Shang-Chi just, yay! Just do some Atreyu type shit. But you have all that. Of course, you have the battle of the father and son, where the son has to remember words from the mother. You are your father and I. You have to embrace both. those little lessons you hear. He learns how to be himself, power himself up, gains possession of the 10 rings, tries to help his daddy, dragons and shit kill his daddy, and it is what it is. Blah blah. Fast forward, the film is done, the village is saved, even after a lot of casualties, a lot of souls getting sucked. That's literally what happened. Souls get sucked. After a lot of casualties and whatnot. And Aquafina even is joined in this because she's training with the villagers. I forgot to mention, she was training with the villagers, learning how to use the bow, because all she was she had been Sean's friend. He uses Sean as his Americanized name. Sean's friend for over a decade. And so finding out that Sean can fight, because she never knew he could fight, then his sister, who's a badass, and then they find out about this magical, kingdom per se. And this kingdom Tao Lao has warriors, and it's a beautiful village, and all their weapons and armor are coated in dragon scale. Again, this phase of Marvel that we're in, this phase 4, is magical, mystical, cosmic, quantum. So we're having all these different, elements invoked. And you get it. Again, she learns how to shoot a bow and arrow, Aquafina and she saves the day pretty much with a shot through the neck of the beast. Sorry to bring that up. I thought I wasn't going to bring it up, but I did. But at the end, you see something. It's a callback to earlier, where there's a small scene where you have Shang-Chi and Katie. They're like on a double date, friend date, with one of their friends from high school and with her husband. And they're telling stories in the beginning. Well, we get a callback to that later, and they're telling the whole story of everything that happened in this gigantic fight, and them basically saving a kingdom and almost saving the world. And the friend doesn't believe them, neither does the husband, until a portal opens up, and Wong was like, "Hey, Shang-Chi, Katie," and they stand up like, "Yeah, we gotta go," and so nobody can believe it. You get a mid-credit scene where basically the three of them that I just mentioned are in the sanctum, and they're looking and just blowing up and going deeper into what the rings are, and finding out there's nothing about the rings in any of the text in the sanctum, and that the rings are actually a beacon calling out to something. So we don't know where this goes further. Then in the again, spoilers, it's not really a big post-credit scene. Oh yeah, by the way, in this mid-credit scene that I mentioned, again, spoilers, there are a couple other people in it. I don't want to say who it is. There are a couple other Avengers. You'll love who you see in it. And it kind of makes sense. Still things tie up in it. There's definitely a special thing. You're like, holy shit, that happened. But again, the rings, the other post-credit scene is not much, but I kind of want to let you all have that. But in the mid post-credit scene, to find out that the rings, them not understanding what the rings are, there's no text on these rings. And we're talking about the Sanctum Sanctorum, where all of magic and all these, different things and understanding about different dimensions, the Infinity Stones, the Dark Dimension, Dormammu, et cetera. They know all of this. This knowledge is available. And to not know anything about the origin of the 10 rings. Now, I don't think this crosses into Doctor Strange to the Multiverse of Madness. Don't think that's the case at all. Granted, you have Wong and all these magical, mystical items. I do not think that's the case at all. You do get, Wong tells Katie and Shang-Chi, from this moment forward, your life will never be the same. Everything is different now, blah, blah, blah. I don't know where it connects. I know it's a part of the giant story that was being told, of course, with the MCU, but you don't know where it falls in line. And I'm kind of cool with that. For me, I know a lot of people say a lot of Marvel movies are formulaic, where you kind of have the same, some of the same similar beats and whatnot. Now, I do see where a lot of people come from when they say that. I keep it a buck with y'all. I get it. You can look at a lot of movies and it's like blah, 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 blah. Got it. And my slight rebuttal to that is like, these beats are the same because they're all filling into the story mold and gap. Cool. But what I'm starting to see just a little bit differently as we go into phase 4 now having Black Widow out, which it finally came out, now having this, having had the series that we do in WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, and now What If, which even is a part of everything. There's a little bit of different theme if that's the appropriate word to use. It's a different vibe in a sense. But I get I get what a lot of people who say that they're like, yo, it seems the same. I understand it. I hear you through the screen while you're watching your boy. I'm with you. Trust me, I'm with you. But for me, this story in itself didn't feel like every other story. It felt like a great origin story to a hero who isn't a superpowered hero like anyone else, who is, who doesn't want to, no hero wants to be a part of this. The way his thing is all magical and mystical, and a regular dude and a regular person being brought into life. Most of these other people we see throughout the MCU where they're heroes and stuff, there are circumstances where it's like, here's some powers, unless you got a bow and arrow like you, Hawkeye. But his story, the way it's told, it has heart in it. This story isn't just cookie cutter, here's the level of redemption, here's why redemption happens. It has something that captivates you. And I think I can say that from the fact that not just of a villain redeeming story, which a lot of people figure may happen, or a hero turning dark story, it's kind of an arc you don't see coming. But it works, it flows, the story moves. I know, again, some people also say, man, these movies are getting too long. But guess what? For as much as the social media world complains, and yes, I say the social media world because, quick backdrop, 20% of Americans only have Twitter. I know it seems like a lot more, but only like 20% of Americans have Twitter. Now, the rest of the world is a whole different thing. I don't have those numbers on those. But again, that's still a small number in the grand context of things. So we see a lot of social media fodder on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And we think people are like, oh, why does shit got to be so long? But the box office numbers are the same. I personally, like I said, put this in the top 5. I love how it's beauty. I am a fan of martial arts films, TV shows when they're done well, when they're done with respect and reverence, when the choreography matches, everything. Yes, I was pissed about Iron Fist. I was pissed. You got to do because he was on Game of Thrones, and you were like, no, he ain't got to train for shit. Just throw him in the role. And then season 2, he decides, well, I think I kind of got it now. Nah, bro, too little, too late. So my rebound in that was, listen, Shang-Chi in the Marvel Universe. Again, at the end of the day, no matter who you are watching, who you are reading, who you are listening to that is reviewing this movie right here, no matter who you listening to, it is all one thing you need to always remember before you get into I always say this with everything, people don't get in feelings. It's everybody's opinion. I want you to see this shit for yourself and find out for yourself if you like it or not. That's at the end of the day, that's what I want you to do. Formulate your own opinion. But for me, I rock with this shit heavy. This shit was beautifully done. Like I said, action, the fight scenes as well. Everything moves. It doesn't drag. When there's a part that slows down, it's because it's moving the story in another way. And remember, stories have to move. They always can't just be action. They have to act, maybe a beginning of the story, some action, boom, 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 back and forth, and then a big crescendo, lay you out even, boom, done, out. Something like that. That's how I felt this gives you. And it gives you action actually from the beginning. So, like I said, in my personal opinion, and your boy the resident supervillain's personal opinion, this shit is worth seeing. We know, I've seen, again, I'll go into this and then I'll wrap this up. I've seen people say, I just ain't really felt like some of the shows and I ain't felt Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, blah, 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 and the movies, and I ain't feeling them yet. I don't know why, I just don't feel them at the end game, because you're so used to the big crescendo we just had. You're forgetting, and I'm not saying it's just you specifically watching, and I use you as a general term, we're starting over from scratch, per se. And not scratch, whereas nothing's ever happened, but now we're back down. We had this big hype up moment, which is Endgame. No matter how you felt about it, that was what this was, right? So now the Endgame has happened. Boom. Now we're back here. Now we got to build our way up. Some things may be proverbially speaking slower than others, but we got to build it back up, build it back up. We've gotten spoiled as audiences. We've gotten spoiled as comic book fans. I am not saying any particular company, but as fans in general, whether it be The Boys, Spawn, DC, Marvel, and so many others, we've gotten spoiled. So we're so used to everything being like boom, 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 boom. Something so grandiose. But we forget to let things grow and build from the start again. And that's what you got here. You're starting to build again with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It's reminding you of things that have happened. It's moving the plot forward, but it's still at that ground level, building up, building up, building up, building up. We know one of our next major big bads is Kang the Conqueror. Building up, building up, building up. We know the big bad in Doctor Strange to the Multiverse of Madness is Scarlet Witch. Building up, building up, building up, etc., etc. So that's what I thought. You know what I'm saying? Those are my thoughts. Again, if you've seen it, haven't, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. I tell y'all this shit always. I'm always going to try to be that dude. Keep this shit civil. We are talking about a fucking comic book movie. No need to go jumping through the hoops. Also, because there's probably going to be one or two people. All this goddamn wokeness, blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. It's not wokeness when people are finally seeing representation of themselves on screen. And 9 times out of 10, there's going to come from non-melanated people. Then there's going to be the couple melanated black dudes. You know, all this wokeness, black dudes, all this wokeness from Marvel. Shut your dumb ass up too. Because you can't say any company is being woke when in all actuality, it's evolving. It's not just saying woke, there's evolution. Businesses have to grow and change. Everything, that's why the word is progressive. You have to progress forward. So just be like that in the comments, all right, y'all? Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mr. J Washington, MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington. The Mad Titan Podcast, that's me. I do that, try to get that out every week. It's where I get you caught up on all the things happening in the Marvel and DC live action and cinematic universes. It is Barbershop Talk for Nerds. Yes, come on in the convo, everywhere you get your podcast from. And like I mentioned earlier, Blurred's in the Hood every Tuesday and Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. on the East Coast with myself and my brother, the swaggy Blurred, Mr. Winston A. Marshall. We talk about the world of pop culture, entertainment, news, sports, a whole lot more, and we're from a Blurred's perspective, and we are unapologetically black, all right? I appreciate y'all for watching and rocking with your boy, one way or another. Holla at y'all later. Take care. I'm out. Bye-bye.